Welcome to the Heritage Podcast. I'm joined today by former Latics striker Simon Haworth. Simon, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Adam. Good to see you.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Just let everybody know what it is that you're up to these days.
I'm currently working for the Players Foundation as a liaison officer, pretty much going out and seeing ex players and making sure everything's okay in their world and if we can support them in any way. And also practicing psychotherapist now that I've retrained as. So all's good.
Great to hear. Sounds good. Players do struggle with
Mhm.
retirement. Yourself, you've
Mhm.
spoken about it. I think you likened it to leaving prison in an interview when you spoke about it, didn't you? Um, just tell us what it's like as a player to retire.
It was difficult for me, I think, because a couple of reasons. It was unexpected. So it was through injury at Tranmere in my kind of mid to late 20s. And yeah, that phrase of prison was, I guess, when I left uh, Prenton Park, went through a big steel gate with a wash bag, and that was kind of it. So that was where that came from a little bit, I guess. And then just the fact that there's no one there for you whatsoever. You kind of, in that environment from a young age for a long time, and then you walk away, and football being football, it just carries on, and people carry on, and felt very much that sense of you just cut loose, and I struggled with the transition. Didn't realise at first, but looking back now, I guess as a qualified psychotherapist and having done the work on myself, I can see what was going on for me in terms of lacking purpose and missing what was my career.
Is it that transition and almost that move away from a team environment that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some of that. We run some programs, the student grants for younger players, to re-educate, and sometimes we offer different things. There's a benevolent beneficiary kind of fund for people who are struggling on hard times, some financial advice. So whatever comes with the transition of being out of the game for a period of time and what that might challenge, we try and support them with.
Brilliant. Sounds like great work. We'll talk about your career now. You play for your hometown club Cardiff, made your debut at 17, is that right?
Mhm. Probably a bit older than that. I would have thought I'd be 18, but yeah, around that time.
What did it feel like to play for your hometown club and obviously the team you supported?
Yeah, everything, Cardiff born and bred. Didn't go anywhere else due to my kind of schoolboy years. Just had other options, but always wanted to go and do that at Cardiff and stay at home and hopefully play for Cardiff City one day, which I did. So I loved it as well. Like I said, I could come home every night. It was kind of my people, my city. So huge pride in representing your hometown club. I think for anyone in any city in any club. So yeah, it meant a lot.
You scored your first goal for the club against Hull City. Do
Mm.
you remember much about the goal?
Yeah, I remember getting a breakthrough and missing time with injury, and kind of coming back and feeling probably better after the injury and more ready to play sort of first team football. Football back then in the mid 90s was 4-4-2, and I was a kind of number nine, but not in the stereotypical way that they wanted then, as being big, tall, strong, aggressive. I was probably more fitted to kind of the nines that are getting signed these days, if you like. Enjoyed the technical side of the game, and did that so pretty well, I guess, but in the wrong era. And yeah, the whole game, my keeper spilled it and I tapped it in, so it wasn't much of a goal, but gave me the confidence as a young lad and to get going. And Ninian Park was kind of intimidating place to play, and football back then, if you didn't make an impact quickly, you might not have got another chance. So I needed to kind of get a few goals early on.
You made 25 appearances, scoring 8 goals, so not a bad introduction to professional football. Anything stand out from that?
I mean, like I said, I had a bit of a first team experience and then came out of that. I think it was injury going back a long time. And then when I came back into the team second time round, I got some goals, and we were on a bit of a run for the what would be League Two now playoffs. So we had a young team, a few lads that had come through together, and it was enjoyable. In terms of memorable goals, I scored a good goal against Hartlepool, a back heel and things, but we were just on a bit of a push to get in the playoffs level. But um, yeah, I mean, it was just I don't remember any of them being particularly outstanding. Just enjoyed playing and scoring. It always means a little bit more if you're scoring for your hometown club, I think.
You did score a goal
Hmm.
for Cardiff at Springfield Park, so signing for Wigan wasn't your first time at Springfield Park. You did score a goal there in a 1-0 win for Cardiff, which was Cardiff's first
Okay,
win against Wigan. We're just going to
just
bring it up now if you remember it well.
first, it's the first time I've seen that. Yeah, like I don't remember that being a sunny day. I thought it was wet. So there's my memory. I think
Now
I
here's
think I failed a
Partridge for
medical at Norwich
Cambridge, maybe a
City
chance here
the
for
week
Haworth.
before.
Fires a
Sure, I
shot.
did. Was this a bank holiday game? Maybe.
Think so, yes.
Just my memories, yeah, faded a bit. But I failed a medical at Norwich City whilst I was away with Wales in the 21s. Failed that, came back. I scored the winner against Belgium on a Friday night, and I think this was the Monday. I went and scored that. And then I moved to Coventry City. Kind of came after that, but just remember having a great weekend after a terrible week, if you like.
Was that with the 21s?
21s against we beat Belgium at the Vet. So I scored two winners over 4 days on the back of failing a medical. So looking back, we're probably quite resilient to go on and done that. So that's what I recall of that time. I think it was that time anyway.
You said there you were out on the brink of a move to Norwich. How did that come about? Move to Championship
Yeah,
club?
Championship club, and they'd come in and agreed a fee. I was away with Wales and I had to go and have my medical. It was quite a thorough medical, and I'd had a knee operation, which kind of interrupted those appearances you were on about. There was a break, and I think it was on the back of having some knee surgery. Um, and the knee was fine, and I was playing, and I was just a youngster, but yeah, pretty annoying, I guess, and upsetting to fail the opportunity, the medical and the opportunity. The only good thing was I was coming back to my hometown club and my mates, and I played with my mates for Wales, if you like, on the 21s, and then our Cardiff City team was really close in terms of a lot of Cardiff lads in there and South Wales boys. So I guess I was comforted by just falling back into that and not taking too much disappointment from it.
Were there many lads who played in that Wales team that moved on to the first team, or that you can remember?
Trying to think, was it in my youth team as such, or in that Cardiff team?
In the Wales team?
Oh, in the Welsh 21s. Yeah, I mean, Scott Young played for Cardiff City, had a good career. There was a few others, I guess. I guess the players that went on to play a bit higher, that outside of myself, was John Oster. Went and played for Everton, good player. Craig Bellamy, I grew up with on neighbouring council estates, so me and Bellas kind of came through a lot of them age groups pretty much together, and he'd probably be the highest profile of that age group. And then a couple of other lads that Christian Edwards played for Swansea, had a career in the kind of football league, played a bit at Tranmere. So there's a few lads in one in there. Gareth Roberts had a really good career, left back, mate of mine who played at Doncaster and Derby and things. So yeah, there was some decent careers to come out of it, but I would say Bellas was the standout one. Johnny Oster, I guess, playing for Everton for a couple of years.
You mentioned Craig Bellamy there. He's not doing a bad job, is he?
Yeah,
As we're recording tonight, you've got a big game. Do you fancy your chances
I hope so. I mean, he's done a good job, and I mean, for small nations like Wales, it's getting that group of players every so often that are good enough. When I was younger, we had, Russian Hughes and Saunders and Neville Southall, and we got close and didn't do it. And then obviously the Gareth Bale kind of era was unbelievable, and it's an achievement for us to get there, I think. But he's doing great. Pleased for him. Very, very good coach. Speaks well and gone through his own sort of challenges in life, but looks to be on the right path. And like I said, I've known him since we were young boys, so hopefully he can get the job done.
get you some tickets for America?
Don't know about that, but yeah.
You talked about obviously the Norwich move to Norwich failed, but you ended up moving to Coventry, who are a Premier League team, so a step above. How did that come about?
As it evolves, and I guess it doesn't matter now for so long ago, but Coventry had actually put an offer in that Cardiff accepted, I was told by Gordon Strachan later on, and Norwich came in over the top and put more money in, and Cardiff kind of went back on the deal with Coventry actually. Then bizarrely, I failed the medical, and Cardiff wanted to sort of re-engage with Coventry about the original deal. I think it was for 100 grand less or something like that. Unluckily, Gordon Strachan and Coventry seen that it was nothing to do with me, and I was just a lad caught up in that, I guess. And the deal went ahead and went through and passed the medical and everything else. And yeah, they ended up staying up that season when we were in the playoffs and being a Premier League team. So in terms of stature, they were in a better place. And then when I joined, yeah, some fantastic players. And the couple of years I was trying to breakthrough there. Really, they were a mid-table Premiership team with Hucks, Darren Huckabee, and Dion, Gary McAllister, Roland Nielsen, George Boateng. A lot of good sort of international players at that time.
You made a handful of appearances. I'm assuming both off the bench with the players you've named.
Yeah, I was always up against it. I guess Dion was the 9, if you like, and Dion was pretty reliable in sort of playing games and stuff. Wasn't too many opportunities. I had bits and pieces of games, but for me, I'd lost my dad 6 months previous, moved away, lived on my own, and a lot of mental health struggles with all of that, really. And just, I think it was just too much for me too soon, if I'm honest. I had moments and I showed glimpses of what I was probably about. I wouldn't have been in the squad and in and around it if I wasn't good enough. But I think I struggled mentally to deliver day in, day out, week in, week out. Certainly at that level anyway. And yeah, it was just a bit much for me, playing in the Premier League at 19, living alone and kind of coping with that and the loss of my dad and things. I think now there'd probably be a lot more support and help to navigate that. And at the time I didn't get that. And I think that's probably why I chose to move on rather than facing the challenges of that.
You got yourself a goal against Everton
Mm-hmm.
in the League Cup. Do you remember
Yeah.
much about that?
Yeah, it was kind of, I think that might have been my first start. It was a League Cup game. We beat Everton 4-1, played really well. The other appearances were kind of in and out, but I got a few starts on the back of that. I remember playing a Monday night live game on Sky. My first experience of Ariane Dezu actually kicking lumps out of me for Barnsley while I was at Coventry, and Lids and a few others. So yeah, I got a few appearances from the start, and I don't think it was a talent thing, and I don't think it was a fitness thing because I'd got up to speed. I used to just struggle mentally with having to deliver that level of performance, and people like Dion and Gary Mack were seasoned pros who were capable of doing it, and I struggled. And Gordon Strachan was a kind of tough taskmaster, excellent coach, learned a lot from him, improved me as a player. But looking back, I probably needed a different man manager at that time, purely from a selfish point of view for me. He obviously did great things with the team, but if we're talking about me in this sense, then I could have probably done with a much more kind of, yeah, kind of more man manager who went out of their way to understand what was maybe going on for me off the pitch. And I struggled in that environment a little bit.
I was going to ask you what it was like moving away from Cardiff as a young lad. I didn't realise about your dad as well, so that must have made it even more tough. Is that sort of things you do with the Players Foundation now as well? And what was it like moving away from Cardiff?
Tough. Wasn't driving at the time. Finished my kind of driving lessons at Coventry, and just found it all overwhelming, really. And the loss of my dad obviously compounded that because he was like most lads, I guess, when they're coming through as kids. It's you and your dad going to games and having that support and that kind of person you looked up to, and that just vanished overnight. And I felt a responsibility to kind of look out for my mum and sisters. So I was a bit reluctant to move because I felt the sense of I should be the man of the house, if you like. Didn't want to leave my mates. There was a lot of comforts in Cardiff for me, and a lot of comfort in the football club that made me feel safe. And going to Coventry and jumping up a couple of leagues was daunting. And yeah, I found it difficult. I had periods where I'd settle and performances were okay, but I think I was always yearning to go back home and to have that comfort. And it's difficult. There's a lot more support for young players now than there was back then.
You ended up moving to Wigan. Was that Coventry's decision, or was it your decision to move on, or how did that move come about to Wigan?
But I had 2 years left of my contract, or 2.5, and Gordon wanted me to stay. Gordon, always kind of rated me as a footballer highly. I think his frustration was getting that consistency out of me. Looking back, sometimes we had chats, and he held me in pretty high regard, which is quite flattering looking back. But it was the consistency and his kind of harder approach that I couldn't buy into consistently. Anyway, I'd have periods where I could kind of do that, but Strack, it was his first managerial job, and he'd come through the Alex Ferguson school at Aberdeen and Man United, and he was very, very aggressive and demanding, and I probably wasn't in a headspace as a young lad living away from home to deal with that. So yeah, I remember I was sub at Anfield, I think, on that week of joining Wigan or the week before. So I was very much part of it. They had a couple of offers, one from Brentford, at the time and one from Wigan. He said, "I don't want you to leave. You don't need to leave. But if you want to go and play football, it's up to you." He was that kind of like, he would always challenge you. He probably wanted me to turn around and say, "No, I'm gonna get Dion out of the team and stay here and fight." And um, I chose to speak to both the clubs. Went and met Ron Nodes down at Brentford, who was the chairman. Didn't kind of get a feel for Brentford. Came back to Coventry, more than happy to do that. Didn't get pushed out or anything. And then Michael O'Neill had gone to Wigan, who was a teammate at Coventry. And Mick had kind of given me a call, and there was a bit more of a personal connection then through Mick, as in, listen, come here, play some football, you'll enjoy it, etc. So Mick was quite pivotal in that, I guess. John Benson was there, who I spoke to. Ray Mathias was in charge and things, but the biggest influence on me going there was probably Michael O'Neill. And then I came up and spoke and liked the idea of what the club were trying to do and moving the stadium, and we were signing good players. And I did want to play first team football, and I did want to find something that gave me that feel like I did at Cardiff, that I belonged in the team and I was worthwhile, and I was worth, something, if that makes sense, rather than being a bit part player and not really settling.
You obviously got that number 9 role
Mm.
because you were given the number 9 shirt. You came for a fee of 600,000. Did that, which at the time was a record for the club, did that have any added pressure on you?
It did a bit. People probably wouldn't see that because I think there's a misconception that I sort of didn't care and things, but I did. It was probably more a case of I was struggling with my own mental health at times, and that the things I've talked about, some grief and some homesickness and just adapting to being away from home and life and other things. But it probably came across at times like I didn't care. But I think that was probably me just tuning out sometimes mentally with the struggle of it. Yeah, I didn't like it. I preferred if someone else come along and took that tag off me, rather than me being burdened with it. But it wasn't massive. It was just something that made me think, oh, it's a bit more pressure on me to deliver. But I enjoyed it at Wigan. I loved the lads, and I did get that feel. It was, I didn't get that at Coventry, but at Wigan, some great teammates, and I felt that kind of, I was part of a good club and with good teammates again.
You didn't have to wait long for your first goal. It was sort of 3 or 4 games in.
Yeah, we had some good players. That was a championship team in terms of quality of players, and that goal in particular. Yeah, Brad's is being ambitious, and I've got a bit of a luck of ricocheting. It's gone in and stuff. But I always remember there just being a great set of lads, but real quality players as well. Brad was another good player, and I guess it was a matter of time before me and Lids and Stewie Barlow started plundering the goals and worked together, and we all complemented each other really well. Nothing I'd ever had in my career before or after, but it worked. Stewie was a goal scorer and had a bit of pace. Lids grafted and did a lot of our running, and I guess I was a bit of a target amongst that, for us to play off.
Yeah, this is the second goal. A
Uh,
little bit of luck to this one as well, just in the right place at the right
yeah.
time, like all good number 9s, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess, you get your confidence from goals, and they were the kind of opportunities that, I was getting at Cardiff and I got at Wigan that you wouldn't get at Coventry so much. So that was the difference in levels, I guess. I felt a level where I was at that time. I was comfortable with my training. I was comfortable with the people I was around, and things were going well on the pitch. And I understand some of that was because it was a level less than the Premier League. And for where I was at mentally, rather than technically or tactically or anything else, for me, it was a mentality thing. And being at Wigan at a bit of a lesser level with people that felt like friends worked for me, rather than what it was at Coventry.
You mentioned Stewie Barlow and Lids there.
Mm,
Barlow celebrating with you for the first goal and Lids for the second on the video there. That
mm.
front three, it was some front three, that wasn't it? There was goals from all three of you. How well did you work together? You were kind of, I'm going to say the target man, but not in
Mm.
sense of just a big target man up front. You obviously had your own abilities, but those two working off you, it was sublime at times, wasn't it?
Yeah, if I can probably say that, but the other boys probably would. I've seen Stewie a little bit and Lids, and we all say the same thing. It just worked. we complemented each other in the right way. Like I said, Lids was very industrious, hard-working, super football player, but loved that constant working and wearing people down. Stewie was a goal scorer. Stewie had a bit of pace. He'd get in behind, and he was a goal scorer. And like I said earlier, I wasn't your stereotypical nine. Probably more, as I said, the people like that are getting signed nowadays that are probably lean and athletic, but not really aggressive, or a bit more technical. And I gave us that, but I gave us a bit of an out, I guess, because I had some size, and the three of us just linked up brilliantly. Well, we did have some other good players in the team to supply us, but there was a period of time where I think the first half of that season at the JJB where, yeah, it just everything clicked, and we were probably very difficult to play against as a three.
Yeah, definitely. We just skipped Wembley there. What was it like to play at Wembley and win the auto windscreens in '99?
It was brilliant, and like I said, it was, it felt like I did at Cardiff. It was more than just playing for the team and everything. We were a group of mates. We all got on really well. Some great lads, Sharpie and Lids and Mick O'Neill, Big Griff, and they were just Greeny, just great lads, and Roy Carroll, good lads, good set of mates, and going and doing that at Wembley and getting a last minute winner that Dodge got was just brilliant, and it's what I was looking for, I guess, that camaraderie and that team feeling, and doing it as a professional footballer was just brilliant. And I had that at Cardiff, and I'd lost that a bit at Coventry, and to come back and be able to go out and win a trophy at Wembley and first time playing there and all that kind of stuff was just it was the beginning of the Wigan journey that's gone on to achieve what it does, and I take great pride looking back that we were all kind of the originals in that motion of moving it forward, I guess.
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't go back there again later on that season. Obviously, the playoff defeat to City. Does that second leg haunt you? Like I know it does a few. Certainly the fans. I know it does a few past players as well.
Yeah, I got injured in the first leg. We missed a few, I think, players, didn't we? We drew at home, I think, right? At Springfield, drew one each. Stewie scored early, I think, and I came off injured, but I think Mick was missing, and like Michael O'Neill used to get bits of stick and that, but Michael was a great footballer, a great brain, and he was always brave enough to get on the ball and keep getting us to try and play. And then there might have been a few others out. I remember being at Main Road and watching it and being on the bench or near the bench, and I think there was a few of us that were missing, and yeah, heartbreaking really, because we were a good team and probably a better team. And I think if we'd have had a full team, I think we'd have gone there and got the result we needed, to be honest.
Would you have been fit for the final?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, it was a hamstring strain. It hadn't gone, but I'd had a bit of a strain on it, and I'm not sure what the other lads were. I just, like I said, I have that memory. I might be wrong, but my memories are a bit faded. But I'm sure there was 3, 4, 5 missing, and that's no disrespect to the lads that came in for us, but I think they were kind of important players, and it has still been a challenge, City at Main Road. But I thought we had a good enough team, and yeah, the only other thing that's coming back to me, I guess, was the amount of games we played. We played a lot of games, didn't we, in the finish, which probably took a bit out of us. I think we had a real backlog of playing 3 times a week, maybe for a few weeks.
Yeah, we did. The run after the win in the auto windscreens was something like 7 games in like 15 days.
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic going.
Yeah, because of the backlog of fixtures with the run to Wembley and obviously a couple of waterlogged games at Springy.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, as you say, we moved into the new stadium, and for the first half of that season, everything was going to plan. But historically, you were the first player to score at the new stadium. You managed to grab 2 that day. Great ball from Michael O'Neill there, as you say.
I've seen that a few times, but because it was the first goal, I guess. But yeah, great ball from Mick, and just tried to control it as he dropped over the defender and finish it. But that first half of the season, that was, that was some team playing on a good pitch in a good stadium. We were pretty impressive, to be honest, back then. And we'd have probably been the top half of the league above, I'm convinced of it, with the players we had and the way we were playing.
Yeah, we were unbeaten, weren't we, until January? This is your
That's
second
right.
goal that day.
Yeah.
Nice first time curler into the top.
Yeah, we were kind of cutting teams apart like that, and we were just overrun teams, and yeah, I remember that. And Lids's I think I've run out wide there, played it to Lids maybe, or Mark Bowen into Lids maybe, and yeah, that just kind of my kind of regular finish, I guess, trying to curl it in the far corner kind of thing. But I just remember how good a team we were at that time, and not going up that season was the biggest regret.
Yeah, and it culminated in disappointment at Wembley, didn't it?
Mm.
But I still say this. I said it when I interviewed Harry. I think this is one of the best goals scored at Wembley.
What was Harry's
Um,
opinion?
he agreed. He agreed.
Did he? Okay.
If it had been scored in an FA Cup final or an FA Cup semi-final, it was one of them goals I think that you'd have just seen on repeat every year to advertise it. It doesn't even get in the Sky program about League One finals, which I think is ridiculous,
Hmm.
considering the game three
Yeah,
two, extra time, etc. So it was a great game, and
it was.
it was a great goal as well. Maybe not the result, obviously that we wanted, but a great goal. Just talk us through. I mean, just look, it's the touch that takes it away from goal, and then you just
Yeah.
put it in completely the opposite corner.
Good times. Well, the result wasn't that. Like I said, my biggest frustration is we should have gone up automatic, and I think we tinkered with the team a bit too much after Christmas. And I think Berno, God bless him, would probably be the first to have admitted that. We just overthought it a little bit, and we didn't need to almost tinker with what was working great, and we brought some players in, good players, good lads as well. It wasn't a reflection of them, but we just almost all overthought it, if you like. Ended up in the playoffs, and then yeah, in terms of that goal, I think I'd had a shot blocked just in the phase before, and I remember it was wet. It was quite wet. There'd been quite a bit of rain, and the pitch was quite heavy, wasn't it? And then
It
the
was,
sun
yeah.
came out, and my memories of it was that kind of thing. And someone slid and blocked my shot. It's come back out wide, and I even think it might be Harry that crosses it. I think Harry's the one that finds himself out in that kind of left channel. I'm edge of the box, and I've made a run near post. I guess not anticipating him to cross it in that way, and then I've thought, I'm past the near post here. I can't use a conventional finish, if you like. This ball's come to me sort of slowly. I'm beyond the near post. There's bodies around me. There's no way I can swing a left foot shot. So I thought I'm going to try and stand it up and volley it one way or the other at goal. So, I mean, I would do things like that a lot in training and things. It was just kind of I was quite expressive in that way. It didn't phase me, and I guess that's why some people would think I was laid back or I didn't care. But yeah, I was at a club and with teammates that I was able to try stuff like that and um, work on technical things. So the old lads would probably tell you that if you interview them. I'd probably do things like that in training. Um, Often, or try or attempt them, shall we say, rather than them always coming off. So I just found myself in a position where I had to do something different with that finish. So I've kind of stood it up, and I think my first feeling was I was going to stand it up to hit with the same foot. So I was comfortable with my left foot. I thought if I just stand this up, take another half a stride, I might get a volley in. But it's come across me a little bit as I've stood it up, and I thought I'll just use the outside of my right foot to try and loft it back across the keeper. And yeah, I could do it many times and fail. And on that stage at Wembley, it all kind of came off, I guess.
That's exactly what happened. So you're quite right. That ball where it comes out there and comes back in, that's off your shot that was blocked.
Yeah, and then
And it's
Harry
it's
kind of
Harry that puts it across there, and then yeah,
yeah.
like you say, just
And
two
I
touches.
just found myself there and had the realization with bodies and where I was. Usually, if you ran across the near post, you'd set yourself to kind of whip a left foot off, strike, if you like, across the near post. And I thought, I can't do that with where I am. So I thought, and this is all happening obviously in kind of milliseconds, I guess. So I found myself in a terrible position to get a strike off. And the only thing I could do was stand it up and volley it to get, where I was. Because there's two yellow shirts there. And I can see them, and I can see out of my right eye more bodies. And I'm thinking the only way I'm going to do anything is to volley it with a bit of air because there's that many bodies around me. And my run isn't great. It's too far across the near post. And I say that because I think it was I felt quite fatigued, and it was one of them games where it was a bit end to end. And sometimes, having played at Wembley twice, it does fatigue you a lot. And the shot got blocked, and it's the second phase, and I'm kind of getting there a bit in my own time, if you like. And that in my head, I'm thinking that's all I'm left with is to do something creative with it. And I attempted it, and it come off, and sadly, it didn't win the game. Yeah, still have kind of nightmares of how we didn't kind of win that game. I think Sharpie got sent off, didn't he? And
Yep.
then we got our noses in front with Stewie, and somehow we've let 2 late goals in off set pieces, and Gillingham were a threat with that, all through the season. That's what they were about. But should have gone up automatic, should have gone up in the playoffs, and we didn't. And that's football, I guess.
How difficult was the following season, bearing in mind what you just said there? We probably should have gone up automatic. We probably should have won the playoffs. You're still at the same level. New manager, obviously Bruce Rioch came in. How did you pick yourselves up?
I think it was tough. We always had good players because of the chairman's investment, and we had the stadium, we had the facilities, I guess, to be successful. It was the change of managers, and again, Dave would probably be the first to tell you that when he sort of stuck with Paul Jewell, they got a bit more consistency and success. But it was never. I don't think it was ever the group of players or the ambition of the chairman or the club or anything. I think just the changing of managers trying to get that quick fix or that quick answer probably hindered us. And Bruce came in, did really well, and I think Bruce left or got sacked. I think we must have been in second or third when Bruce left, or we were certainly thereabouts. So Bruce came in with his own ideas, and again, it takes a little while, but we got into a routine, and we got some new players in, and we were effective. We were there or thereabouts. I'm sure we were, and then Bruce got removed, and I think it was just the constant changing of from Ray to Benno, from Benno to Bruce to maybe Steve Bruce coming in caretaker, and then maybe Cole had to step in at times as caretaker. It probably just that lack of consistency at coaching and management level that hindered us.
Does that have an impact when you've got different managers coming in? I presume it does, with different styles and different.
Yeah, different styles, different beliefs, different players, embedding it in, and then you get into a routine. And you know better than me. I don't know where we were when Bruce left, but I'd have thought we were round about the right place to go and challenge and strike. And then he's gone, and then someone else comes in with a different view. And yeah, there's no consistency to it. And you seen when Paul was given a chance to build what he felt he needed to build, and given the time to do it, that the movement kicked on, I guess, if you like. They've brought a lot of players in, and we got that first nudge forward with winning the auto windscreens and getting around the playoffs and bringing a better quality of player in. And then it needed another kind of push again, and Paul came and did that and got given the time, I think, which was important. I think if Bruce was given the time, if Benno would have been given the time, no doubt there would have been a promotion.
We were right in there when Bruce left. I think we were fourth from
Okay.
off the top of my head, so but not a long way off the top too.
Yeah.
So automatics was still well within our reach.
Yeah.
Under Bruce, you got your one and only hat-trick for the club.
Okay.
Against Colchester.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Which I'd say a sort of typical
goal for me, I guess. Bit different. Yeah, Lids would often shoot from there, so it was a surprise that he's crossed it. And yeah, I kind of backed myself technically with volleys and things like that. I was just outstretched and thought if I can just take the pace off it, I'll drop it over the keeper's head, which I did. And then I think that was Luar equalising, maybe.
Yeah, they do pull.
Oh, that was him on the run. Sorry,
that was him on the run. Yeah, a bit of a deflection off. I think it's Sharpie, isn't it? Goes over Roy's head.
Roy and no man's land there.
Yeah. The next two, yourself. I think if off memory, all three of these goals are different, which I think sums you up. You didn't just score tap-ins. You didn't just score the same sort of goal, did you? Every goal you scored was different. Lids ball in, and
again, great. I knew Lids would do that. Greeny's done well, and like that's where Lids created so much for me. Lids wanted to go and do that hard work, and he got down the channel, and we had that understanding, and I knew he would cross it, so I could make a run across the keeper. And it was just getting there first and getting enough on it to put it over the keeper into the far corner, and it's why we complemented each other. Again, Stewie had a lot of similar kind of finishes. He'd get in behind with his pace, or he'd pop up with a tap in. That was kind of Stewie, and I scored more of the difficult ones, I guess.
And then there's an overhead kick just to top it off.
To
So
top it off,
three
yeah.
pretty good goals there. Lids flick on.
Another Lids assist, yeah. Yeah, all
He'll claim all
the,
3 assists as well, though, won't he?
yeah, of
He'll
course
claim
he
a hat
will,
trick for
yeah.
that, won't he?
Of course he will, but all decent finishes, I guess. But I think that's kind of what I was about. I probably scored good goals more than lots of them, but I don't know. I think my strike rate was okay at Wigan in terms of consistency. Yeah.
This one that's just played through against Huddersfield, which
Neil Roberts,
that's yourself.
Is it okay? So Neil's won the
Yeah.
header, hasn't he?
Yeah. Pat's played it forward. Neil's won the header, and
Yeah.
and you've just flicked it over the
I just
over the keeper.
used to be confident enough to try things again. Like I perhaps most people probably wouldn't try that, and I found it a bit more. I would do that in training at Coventry, but found that far more difficult to execute in the Premier League, and probably lacked the confidence to do it. Amongst my own sort of teammates who knew what I was like and encouraged that at Wigan, I probably tried more of them finishes, but there'll be another 20 of them going over the bar on video somewhere. But I think I just had the confidence to try things. That was it, and that worked for me. But yeah, some good goals, I guess.
Do you have a favourite goal that you scored for Wigan?
I guess in terms of the arena, the playoff final one was probably arguably as good a goal as I've scored. Technically, and obviously in front of a big crowd, and on the day we didn't get the result, but in terms of stature of where it was and what it was, probably that one. And there's a few good technique ones. I think I scored one against Wrexham once, which was a hard volley, and one against Bury that comes over my shoulder the other way, and like kind of outside of the foot volley it back the other way. There's probably a couple that are technically harder to do, but I think just being at Wembley and what the kind of day and everything that comes with that would be the one. Yeah.
We failed to go up again. As you said, Bruce left. Steve Bruce came in, and we lost in the playoffs again, sort of last minute. Defeat at Reading. The following season, Paul Jewell comes in, and that kind of signalled sort of the end for you at Wigan. It wasn't as you left pretty much not long after that. I think it was that first season. Was there a falling out with Paul, or was it just a different sort of style that he wanted to play?
No, I mean he was different, Jagger, in a sense, and brought people in. But I got to a stage where I was playing and scoring, and he offered me a new deal, which we were going through actually. And the thing that triggered it all was the Ayatollah incident. So never a problem with me and Paul. And the best version of me, Paul was, how do I word it, very fond of. Thought Paul liked that version of me and his team, and we'd never had a problem. And again, wanting that consistently and things was a challenge for him. But I remember around about the time I think I was in and playing, I scored a couple of Peterborough in a game, or there was a spell where I was in playing, and I think Jake Lee McCulloch was out of the team, and me and him vying for that. But I was offered a new deal, and we were negotiating that in and around. We weren't far off really, and then the incident probably sparked that, I guess, to where he felt. I don't think it was Paul's decision. I think it was people above Paul. Let's call it that way. There was people above Paul that made a lot more out of that incident than what it was. But there was never a problem between me and Jagger, if you like. Now.
There was a bit of backlash from fans, which I'm sure looking back you can probably understand. But I'm guessing for you it wasn't because a lot of people said it was you wanting to get out of the club, which from what you just said there, I'm guessing is definitely not true.
Yeah.
For you, I guess it was just a boy or Cardiff fan in front of your mates and
yeah. Yeah. I guess something that I thought was pretty harmless, naive, I guess at best. But the things of going home, I was never going back to Cardiff either. I was married with 2 kids in school in and around the Wigan area. Like that wasn't ever on the radar. I think they were interested, and I think Bristol City were interested and stuff, but that wasn't engineered by me in any shape or form. I think Gillingham, having spoke to somebody at Gillingham they were mad keen and had put offers in as well, probably on the back of the playoffs and that season and things. But I was never moving to Gillingham either, you know. So it's like that was never on the table. And people at Cardiff would perhaps tell you that wasn't something. It was more a hometown boy, and I'd seen lots of people do it that had moved on. I guess, you know, Nathan Blake was a bit above me when I was an apprentice, and Blakey had sometimes come back and do that, and doing Ayatollahs for Bolton Wanderers and Sheffield United. I honestly thought it was a bit innocent and naive and immature if at worst. And I don't think, yeah, I didn't envisage the reception and the reaction. I probably, looking back, I probably can now because sometimes I was probably the easy target in the way I played and the way I moved, if you like. That it was often I was often seen as lazy or I didn't care, which wasn't the case, but probably a bit of easy target to that. But I've seen tens and tens of Cardiff players at all levels of football do that and not have a reaction from their kind of crowd. So
Yeah.
I get it and I don't get it, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter 30 years later, to be
No, it
honest.
doesn't.
But yeah, I've seen Aaron Ramsey do it for Arsenal and things. It was just something. I don't know whether it was taken in the wrong way and what it was about, but I was at Cardiff when fans did that in the very beginning when they were in Europe and through the Welsh Cup, and it was a bit of a thing they did to try and remove an old chairman called Tony Clemo, and fans then would just say do the Ayatollah to players, current ex fans. It wasn't. I think Sam Haman before that with the Leeds game kind of probably put a bit of a toxic feel on that. I think people often then kind of seeing the Ayatollah as what was just a really fun spoofy thing the Cardiff fans did into something a bit more sinister, which it wasn't.
Yeah. It did happen pretty quickly, the departure after that. I'm just looking
Uh-huh.
at the fixtures now. So the Cardiff game was on the 16th of February, and you made your debut for Tranmere on the 2nd of March.
Yeah,
So within 2 weeks, you'd gone
yeah.
from new contract to leaving the
Uh-huh.
club.
Mm.
I'm guessing that was disappointing because, as you've already said, you were loving your time at the club and you were going to sign a new deal by the sounds of it. So I'm guessing it was a disappointing exit.
It was, and I think the disappointment was the reaction. I think looking back, whether everyone would have dealt with it differently. Like I said, naivety, immaturity. The best thing would probably be to come out and apologise and explain it, and the club to support that. But I remember phone-ins on Wish FM and all sorts. I think it just went like extreme on what it was. I just do, and some fans will disagree with me on that. And I've spoke to some fans who were like, "You were a Cardiff boy, and what's wrong?" They get it. Some don't. Whatever. Like I said, it doesn't matter now. A long time ago, but. Paul was in a position where it was kind of put him out the door, which again, yeah, I think was quite extreme for somebody doing something like that. So that it is what it was, and then I think they must have. I don't know this, but they must have circulated my availability. They must have done, and then obviously with Ray working with me before, when I spoke to Ray, he was like, as soon as we heard you were available, that was like he just went and said, because I think they paid 125, 150 as a bit of a fire sale, and Ray couldn't believe it. So Dave Watson was at Tranmere, and Ray's like, we'd have paid 3, 4 times that to get you across there. So they couldn't believe it. And there was a few others involved, but again, which shows about the whole Cardiff link. I was based in the northwest, so there was Bristol City were always in for me for some reason. And my desire was to stay in the northwest and Tranmere and working with Ray and Stewie was over there, Gareth Roberts, who I knew from Wales. It just made a lot of sense, and they were quite a strong team and decent club, and it all added up, and that allowed me, like I said, to stay in the northwest and my kids in school and things.
Yeah, I think it was probably a culmination that season, really, as we weren't obviously challenging that season, were we? Paul's
Mm.
first year,
Yeah,
as we had been doing, and I think fans were getting a little angry at that fact that we weren't challenging anymore. You, like you said, you were always seen as a lazy player and maybe a
yeah.
scapegoat, and I think everything came together, didn't it, with
It's,
with
yeah.
that incident?
Everything happens for a reason, and it doesn't kind of matter. But I didn't fall out with Paul or players or anything like that. It was just there was a bit of a some of the old guard were moving out, some were in, but to clarify it, I was very much in Paul's ideas to be part of the next wave of what was coming. Of course, he wanted this from me and that from me in terms of performance, but that's normal in any club. But
Yeah.
he was then kind of, I guess, it was in the interest of him and whoever was involved then to circulate and get me out. So.
You hit the ground running at Tranmere, 3 goals in your first 4 games.
Uh-huh.
Was it an easy move?
I
Take
think it helped.
obviously everything away from the fact that you weren't
Yeah,
planning to
I
move.
like I said, I didn't have to move, which again pours water on the whole moving back to Cardiff. My wife and children were brought up in and around, Parble, Wrightington and stuff. So there was no desire to leave that. They were settled. I was happy. So not moving away helped. That always helps, settling in with a new club, not having to move and find a new house and things. And I knew Gaz, and I knew Stewie, I knew Ray. So there was Eric Nixon was knocking about, and Nico was at Tranmere a bit in that auto windscreen season. So I knew a few faces. Always makes it easier, like I said, and I could commute and some good players in that team. They were a decent team. Tranmere, I think they'd come down from the Championship year before. A year before that, we had a young Jason Kumas who was an incredible football player. Um, Joe Murphy in goal. There's some good players. Clint Hill, some players that went on to play Premier League football in that side, Ryan Taylor, Ian Hume, and some good players. So we made it much easier.
What was the difference in the style? I suppose having, like you say, played under Ray before, was it just kind of straight back to what you'd had in that first season under Ray with Stewie alongside you?
I think so. I mean, it was different. Dave Watson was involved, and Ray was an assistant. Ray came. Dave Watson got sacked in the pre-season of the my first full season. We lost heavily to Man City and Birmingham in two pre-season games, and Dave got removed. Again, don't know what happened there, but he did. And then Ray got the job, and then obviously Ray had even more influence, and he knew to just let me kind of do my thing, and I would turn up on a Saturday if he liked. So Ray knew how to manage me um, perfectly, like John Benson did, like Bruce Rio. All the managers kind of found a way of working with me. So Ray come in, knew what made me tick. Stewie was there, and we had Ian Hume coming through. So I was kind of, we were in a two. Really, I was kind of the target, if you like, and then we had Stewie, and Stewie was kind of coming a little bit more to the end, and Ian Hume was a very good young player coming through, so they would kind of alternate, and eventually Hughie came through as the main one to play alongside me as the pace in behind, if you like. And as I said, Jason Kumas was there, who's an incredibly talented player, and Ryan Taylor, and some good players, Clint Hill, Gareth Roberts, yeah, some good players there.
We'll have to talk about it. The following season, we come up against each other at Prenton Park. I suppose you were expecting the stick from fans, were you? Or
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, was you expecting it, or was it a surprise?
No, I expected it. I don't think I was ever appreciated's a strong word. I don't think the fans ever kind of took to me in the way as in who they are and how they see football. I think they were much more, you know, Lids friendly. Lids would sit on here and probably tell you I was as effective in that team as he was, but it's people took to him because of his work rate and things, which is cool. Um, I was never going to tail around everyone and do that. It just wasn't my style or the way I played. And I think what fans sometimes forget is that managers' instructions of staying and playing in certain areas and staying within the width of the box and things are sometimes instructions as well. Um, so I don't think I was ever a fan's favourite at Wigan. I think I had moments. I think some fans really appreciated what I did, but the vast majority thought I should have been running around a lot more. Um, and then obviously on the back of the Ayatollah and leaving, yeah, I didn't expect a warm reception at all. No.
Did that have any impact on the sending off? Had the fans kind of got in your head, as fans would say, or was it just one of those things?
I think more my own petulance, which I could have. Not a great loser in that sense. So I got sent off for Wigan at times with silly ones. I remember
Yeah, you did.
kicking out with people and stuff. So I always had a bit of a petulant streak in that way. Again, in immaturity. So no, they didn't get to me in that sense. I think I just got frustrated with my own performance in the evening, and Mitch was a good lad. I think I kicked out Paul Mitchell, and Mitch was a good lad again. And I think did Lids get sent off or subbed?
Yeah, Lids got sent off.
I
Yeah,
remember speaking in the tunnel with Lids. So yeah, I mean, people probably
yeah.
see that and think, oh, we all hate each other. And me and Lids were having a bit of a laugh in the tunnel of ours, both ending up in that position, stood in the tunnel at Tranmere. So it is what it is, and fans are right to go and have a moan or give someone a bit of grief for the next player. It's part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah. Lids sending off was a daft one, wasn't it? Because he won a penalty. and then got
Probably,
sent
I
off.
was probably off. Was I at this time?
I'm not sure, to be honest,
I
but
think I might have
he
been.
wins a penalty in the second half and gets sent off for his reaction. He gets up and pushes the defender and gets sent off for that.
Okay, I think
But
I might have
we
been
still
off, and
got
he
the
come running
penalty
up the
and scored.
tunnel.
So
I think I might have been off, and Liz has come running up, and yeah, we just had a bit of a giggle, I guess. Yeah, how we've ended up in that position, the two of us. But it's football, isn't it? It's what makes it. You know, fans have favourites, they don't have favourites. They give you a bit of stick and stuff, and I'm happy to give a bit back. And I think that football maybe lost some of that, hasn't it?
how did you mentioned it earlier, the retirement through injury? How did that happen? What was the injury and why was it the end of your career?
I broke my tib and fib at Brentford. So I broke my leg pretty badly. When I went to the hospital, they kind of likened it to an RTA, a road traffic kind of accident break. It was that kind of bad. Um, and it was the care after, I guess. Most clubs will kind of have an orthopedic surgeon to go and get you in and seen to. And what's kind of really important with a broken leg is that you get it pinned and put the rod through your shin bone and get seen to quickly. Went to a hospital in London. Didn't get seen to in casualty for a long time, and then got the kind of a junior to almost just leave it and paying. I didn't get the operation that I needed, and I had to wait 12 days to get the operation. And there was a lot of nerve damage and circulation damage and other things that had gone on that wouldn't have probably happened if I got operated on that night or the next morning. Had to have the operation back on the Wirral because the consultant we had at Tranmere then didn't kind of trust what was going on in the hospital in London to do it. They were on about putting an external cage on it and all the things that would have given me absolutely no chance of playing again. So I had to go back, wait for the swelling to go down and try and give myself a chance of playing again. But the damage accrued in that first kind of 10 days after the break. Oh, yeah, I struggled for a loss of feeling in my leg and foot and things. And I spent 12 months trying to rehab and come back, but and I never felt the same, to be honest. And it was it just never felt the same, the leg after that, which was a shame.
Was it your decision to retire, or was it a doctor's advice?
It was a doctor's. Yeah, the consultant just kind of advised it. Really, I could have ploughed on a little bit and played, but he kind of thought I'd never get back to where I wanted to, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to drop down leagues and non-leagues and stuff, and kind of hobble around with a half a leg. Because I believe my game was about. I felt like I had a decent touch with a big lad, and I didn't want to go around and just fill out and be some sort of battering ram at a lower level. I just, I don't know. I felt like if I couldn't play, and I was at that time, I'd done well at Tranmere. I think I got 22 in the season before, and there was a bit of interest in going back up a level and things. So, my mind was set on, if possible, playing a bit higher again, rather than going the other way with a leg that I could have probably got through, but I wouldn't have been the same player.
You said right at the start that you struggled with retirement. What was it like that moment where, like you say, the doctors have told you that this thing that you've done pretty much all your life up until that point, I'm guessing, because you'd have been playing as a kid and
Mm.
all you ever wanted to do was play football. How difficult is it when you get that news and like you say, you leave training one day and that's that?
Yeah, really difficult. I think with footballers, there's a naivety that you're always going to just be okay because you're a footballer and someone will maybe come and save you or things will work out. And I'd had a good career, so I had some finance behind me, and I guess I thought, oh, I'll be okay. You try and look at it positively and think you're going to be okay. And it's only in the time after, like I said, when I left, there's no support, there's no help, there's no one reaching out, there's no club anymore making sure you're coming in and staying fit or asking how you are, or things are a lot different now in that post playing support and re-educating and a second career and all this kind of support and education that you need. None of that was there. It's kind of literally didn't hear of anyone. Gareth Roberts, like I said, maybe as a friend I'd known for a while on a friendship level, but suddenly, and that's football, I guess. It's a brutal industry which people don't realise, and you know sometimes people look at the top level and think everyone's okay, and they earn hundreds of thousands a week, and they don't. And it's the same now. There's a life after that. So I just found myself getting depressed, lack of purpose. Putting weight on, and for a while it's okay. You can have an extra holiday, you can have a lie-in, you can pick your kids up more. All the things that you think are good, but then you realise that this can't be the end. It's 28, 29, 30. Like what comes next? But initially, it's kind of probably a little bit of that false sense of security that you're okay and you've got some money and you've been a footballer and something will come along, and it doesn't come along. And people don't reach out, and then you lose your purpose and your mental health suffers. And I became problematic with my gambling, and I obviously see now that was kind of a solution and a way out for me for feeling low and feeling my loss of scoring a goal on a Saturday. All the things that you take for granted suddenly disappeared literally overnight with no preparation for it.
Yeah, it must have been tough. Had you been? I suppose you hadn't been planning retirement either, had you?
Yeah,
So there was no sort of
yeah.
backup that you've been doing coaching badges already and stuff like that.
No backup plan, and that some of that's my own kind of ignorance. And again, now I'm much older and wiser, and I've gone and re-educated myself and gone back to school a bit, if you like. I see the value in that, and some of the lads did do. Harry but Derek Stilley was doing a law degree at the time, and we all used to just be typical footballers, mocking them and thinking I don't need that kind of stuff. So at that age, I hadn't even thought about it. I thought I had another 5 to 8 years left comfortably playing. Didn't think about it. I take accountability for that. I should have been doing things in my early 20s probably, but you don't, and players still don't. Um, Hence the need to raise the awareness on that. And no, I wasn't prepared in the slightest for what comes next.
You did eventually move into coaching and management,
Mm.
which obviously wasn't a plan. How did it come about that you got back into the game in that way?
Well, I'd lost my way for a little while, and I guess the thing that I didn't like football, on retiring. I didn't like watching football particularly. I didn't go to games. I wasn't one for revisiting old clubs and that kind of stuff. Some of that was probably my own self um, internalizing my pain and what had gone on and not being open enough to express that. So I just stayed away from it and suffered a little bit in silence. And then I started helping my lads' local team on just helping out on a weekend, and just kind of felt that like this is my thing. Football's all I've known, what I've known, and opening up to the fact that I shouldn't have to shut football down because of the way it ended, if that makes sense. And I went and did some coaching badges, and I went to Shrewsbury with Mickey Mellon, who I knew from Tranmere, and Michael Jackson. Danny Coyne had an amazing year there where they got promoted out of League Two. I was doing some work with the strikers and kind of found a bit of a love for football again. And then spent around 6 years in non-league managing, trying to climb the ladder, but extremely difficult situations non-league. Enjoyed it and it was great and no regrets, but a challenging kind of job, really difficult. Yeah.
What sort of manager would you say you are? What was your playing style?
I mean, I played 4-3-3. I guess in some ways I wanted to create a bit of that Wigan, what we had really.
Mm.
Always wanted my teams to play with a bit of freedom and like good players in the front three to express themselves and things. I think I struggled. I enjoyed it, and we had bits of success in non-league. I guess it's football in general. It's not non-league, but you're driven by the teams with money. We would have a certain budget at Stalybridge, for instance, and South Shields at the time were spending money and being full time, and you're just always up against them teams, and especially in non-league that spend money, and it's hard to do that, to go up against them. And but I enjoyed it. It was challenging. I think at times I got frustrated with the lads' level of what they could do. And I got better with that with time, understanding they might have been working all day, and you were limited with what you could do in training because some lads have been laying bricks or painting all day or whatever, and
Mm.
they wanted to enjoy it as much as be coached to death. So it's getting that balance between getting a good group of players, and sometimes we had some good groups and we did well. Sometimes it was a bit more challenging, and for me personally, the biggest frustration was expecting lads to do things I could maybe have done or players around me used to do. Um, and yeah, that was and I was with Gareth Roberts, is again another good player, and probably in hindsight we should probably have a bit more people from that level helping us to understand that level of football a bit more, where we were from a level higher and would often have frustrations of how has he not seen that pass or why did he do that, and that was a frustration. We were never aggressive in that sense. But we struggled to adapt to what non-league needed to win and be successful. We've seen it much more from a professional point of view in the way we wanted to play and what players should do in terms of looking after themselves. We get frustrated easily with their kind of off the field things, and yeah, that was the challenge.
No number 9 standing up with the left foot and flicking it over
No, and
the
then
volley with the right.
no, and I'd get impatient with nines and attackers and Gaz would with left backs because it was our position. But we tried to bring in younger lads that had come out of football, and some went on to do well. So we always produced kind of players or found players, which was good, that are now doing quite well for themselves and playing at a higher level. So we still had that eye for seeing it and developing a bit, but um, probably didn't have that non-league. Now it's about getting a team to win, and stereotypically on a wet, dirty away day against a physical team, we would come unstuck a bit.
You enjoyed the time in management though?
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, different set of challenges. Suddenly you can't afford to have a bus to take the lads away, and they're driving to an away game, and you've got to get rid of a player because he's on too much, or another team can put 7 days notice in and take your star striker. All these challenges that are non-league. You get a bit of a team running together, and the next minute, someone with an extra 20 quid up the road takes them off you, and that used to be a challenge because we couldn't contract a lot of players because it's expensive to contract them if they're injured or not there with work and stuff. So the clubs I was at financially didn't want to contract players. So if someone was doing well and you starting to do okay with a lad, or you might unearth a good player, next minute he's kind of gone for an extra 20 quid, 50 quid up the road.
Yeah, must be tough. We'll finish up then. You've named a couple of already of good players. Who was the best player you played with when you was at Wigan?
Do you know what? It's harder because there were a lot of good players. All of them, I would say the majority of them, if not all of them, players were a better level. They'd either played at a better level or went on to. It was a championship team in League One. I genuinely believe that. Ariane Dazou, great centre half. I thought Michael O'Neill was an outstanding footballer, and I guess the one that stands out for me because I played with him was probably Lids. Um, Great footballer, great understanding of the game, worked hard, did all the right things, lived his life in the right way. And because he was a strike partner, I'd probably say Lids, yeah. But it is hard to single one out because there was a lot of good footballers. Like I said, Carl Bradshaw was a good player, and yeah, we had some good players. Lee McCullough come and played with me sometimes, and Jig went on to play for Rangers and things. There was good players, a lot of good players around, but a bit of a soft spot for Lids, I guess.
I think everyone's got a soft spot for Lids.
Yeah,
You're not on your
it's not
own
his
there.
personality, but as a player, we'll say
You're not on your own
yes.
there.
No, he's a good
Simon,
lad.
thanks for your time.
Welcome.
It's been a great chat, and I'm sure despite everything, you'd be welcome back at Wigan again in the future.
Cheers, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Adam. See you, mate.